औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम मेरा नाम फरहान जाफर my name is Farhan Jaffar e-commerce while I am a level 1 student at Rehan School Islamabad campus. As you know, whenever I come I am having a new colony and the very amazing topic of the colony. So let's start. So my topic of colony is
Gotcha. New colony, new topic. Sounds good. What's on the agenda today?
economic pattern and others global things. Please explain it.
Oh, okay. Um, Diving into the global economic stuff.
Yes.
It's a bit of a mess right now, honestly. Basically, you've got high inflation, meaning prices are up in a lot of places, which is pushing central banks to raise interest rates. That's supposed to cool things down, but it also slows economic growth. Then you throw in the war in Ukraine, which is messing with energy and food supplies, plus ongoing supply chain issues from the pandemic. It all creates a lot of uncertainty. What specifically about the current patterns are you curious about? Is there a part that's sticking out to you?
Yes, I think like about that.
Okay, so the interconnectingness of it all is what you're zeroing on them. That's a smart place to start. Like the war impacting food, impacting inflation, impacting interest rates. It's a domino effect. Uh,
Yes.
a lot of economists are talking about stagflation. That's a fun word, which is basically slow growth combined with high.
Yes, so
Right, it
you can to
detects.
continue about that topic, please. Sorry for about that.
No worries at all. So, stagflation. It's not a super common thing, hasn't really been widespread since the 70s. Basically, it's a really tough spot for economies because the usual tools for fixing things don't work well. Raising interest rates to fight inflation can make the slow growth even worse. Lowering rates to boost growth can make inflation even worse. It's a real pickle. What's interesting is a lot of people disagree on whether we're actually in a stagflationary period right now or just heading towards one. There's debate about how severe it'll be and how long it'll last. That makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense about like that things. You can providing a very good thing about like that. So my next question about to you is what is the meaning of global warming about like that and the global effect on this. Please also dive on this and explain that things.
All right, global warming. It's a big one. Essentially, it's the long-term heating of Earth's climate system observed since the pre-industrial period, primarily caused by human activities, mostly the burning of fossil fuels. That releases greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, trapping heat. The global effects are pretty widespread, honestly. Rising sea levels due to melting glaciers and thermal expansion
My
of water, more
Maya,
free.
my next question about to you is current action. My next question about to you is current action pattern and its global warming. Not about like that. Please explain that. Think of in it.
Okay, gotcha. You're asking about what's currently being done, the action pattern to address global warming and how effective those actions are. You're
Yeah.
right to push me to,
Yes. Go dive on this, please.
all right, diving in.
Yes.
So, globally, the main effort is centered around the Paris Agreement, which aims to limit warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably to 1.5 degrees, compared to pre industrial levels. Countries have pledged to reduce their emissions. These are called nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. But the pledges aren't nearly ambitious enough to meet those goals. A lot of countries are falling behind on their commitments. There's also a big push for renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal, and phasing out fossil fuels, but that's happening too slowly. Then there's stuff like carbon capture technology, which is still pretty expensive and unproven at scale.
Yes. So please dive on that also about
You mean you
about
want
my
me to
topic.
elaborate?
Yes.
Right, about carbon capture. So the idea is to capture carbon dioxide emissions from power plants or even directly from the air and store it underground or use it in other products. It sounds good in theory, but it's really expensive, requires a lot of energy, and there are concerns about safely storing the carbon long term. It's seen by some as a way to keep using fossil fuels while mitigating the damage, but others argue it's a distraction from actually reducing emissions. There are a few pilot projects running, but it's nowhere near widespread enough to make a significant dent in global emissions right now. Does that help clarify where things stand with that technology?
Yes, it's kind to
Cool.
care.
You're absolutely right. It is. It feels overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? All these massive problems and the solutions so slow and complicated, but you focusing on this stuff, asking these questions, that IS caring, it's a good start. What do you think needs to happen to get people to care more or to act faster?
Yes, so you giving a very good answer about that thing. So my next question about to you is, what's about economy patterns?
Ah, looping back to the economy. Good. We started with that, and it's all connected, right? Okay, economic patterns. Right now, things are really fractured. You've got different regions performing very differently. The US has been relatively resilient, but Europe's facing a bigger slowdown because of the energy crisis. China's growth is slowing down too, partly due to their property market issues and COVID lockdowns. Overall, there's a lot of talk about a potential global recession, but it's not a sure thing. What specifically about economic patterns are you thinking about? Like, are you curious about specific industries or certain countries? Okay, so thinking bigger picture, there's a major shift happening away from globalization towards what some are calling friendshoring or reshoring. That means companies are increasingly looking to produce goods closer to home or in countries they consider politically stable. It's a response to supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions. It could mean higher costs in the short term, but also more resilient supply chains in the long run. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Good. So that's one big pattern. Another is the rise of the green economy. There's increasing investment in renewable energy, electric vehicles, and other sustainable technologies. It's creating new jobs and opportunities, but it also requires a lot of upfront investment in changes to existing infrastructure. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's definitely a growing trend. Anything there that jumps out at you or that you'd like me to unpack further?
Yes, so what's about its economy, about global effects?
Okay, so how do these economic shifts, the reshoring, the green economy, affect things globally? It's complicated. Reshoring, for example, could mean fewer jobs in countries that relied on manufacturing for export. It could also lead to trade tensions as countries try to protect their own industries. The green economy, while beneficial in the long run, requires a lot of resources and investment that might not be available to all countries. It could widen the gap between rich and poor nations if not managed carefully. There's a risk of a two-tiered system where developed countries benefit from the green transition while developing countries get left behind. It's all about how these changes are implemented and whether there's a focus on fairness and equity.
Yes, so it's good about to you. And how
Haha.
about its global warming in effects about in global position of working about economy?
Oh, okay. You're asking how global warming is impacting the global economy and the positioning of different countries within it, right?
Yes.
It's a huge question. Basically, climate change is going to disrupt economies in a lot of ways. More extreme weather events, Droughts, floods, hurricanes are causing billions of dollars in damage and disrupting supply chains. Agriculture is being hit hard, leading to food shortages and higher prices. And as sea levels rise, coastal areas are becoming uninhabitable, forcing people to migrate and disrupting economic activity. The countries that are most vulnerable to climate change are often the ones least able to adapt. That's creating a lot of instability and inequality. You're seeing countries in the global south bearing the brunt of the impacts, while those in the global north have historically contributed the most to the problem.
Yes, so it's very nice about you can giving a very good answer about it.
Glad to hear it. It's a heavy topic, but important to unpack. You're doing good work just by asking these questions. What's on your mind next? Do you want to dig into a specific region or a particular
Yes, so my next
industry?
question about to you is what's about politic statics and their effects on its.
Whoa, that's a bit of a shift. Poetic aesthetics and their effects on what exactly? On the economy? On global warming? On all of this we've been discussing? Just want to make sure I'm following. That's a really interesting connection to bring up, though.
Yes, it's good like about to
Okay.
you. You can to do a dive on that first.
Very well. Sorry. All right.
Yes, all was right.
That's our. You were. Absolutely. Framing is everything. If climate change is framed as an environmental issue, it appeals to people who are already concerned about the environment. But if it's framed as a national security issue, like a threat to food security or water resources, it appeals to a much broader audience. It's about tapping into people's existing values and concerns. And poetic aesthetics, the use of vivid language, imagery, and storytelling, can be incredibly. You're finishing your thought? Or just acknowledging? It's all good. Take your time.
Yes, what's about it.
Right.
So my
What's about
my
it?
next question is about to dive in this topic of global position in our economy based. How can we adjust that thing in our life?
Okay, shifting back to the big picture, but bringing in a personal angle. You're asking, given everything we've discussed about the global economy and its challenges,
Yes,
what can we as individuals to navigate
yes,
this and think about our place in it? That's a really good question. It's easy to feel powerless when you're facing these huge systemic issues.
yes. There
Okay.
was some huge issue you can to recognize that issues and how can we solve that issues?
Okay, you're right. I was getting into individual action, but you're bringing it back to the bigger systemic problems. Good. You're absolutely right to push me on that.
Yes.
There are huge issues we need to recognize, and solving them.
Yes. So my question now is my hello. Hello Maya, can you hear me?
Morning. Hope that connection holding up a little better now.
Yes, the connection was failed, so I can restart you again. So my topic of discussion is about politics states and words about its global no, my topic is current issues about politics and the global warming, about some currencies and other things.
Ah, gotcha. Sounds like you want to unpack a whole bunch. Politics, global warming, currencies, pretty hefty mix. Where do you want to start?
Yes, you can go dive on this and explain how can do we resolve that things and how can do we know about that things.
Okay, so how can we resolve these things and how can we even understand them? It's a really big question, honestly. Let's try to break it down. Starting with the biggest one, global warming, because it's kind of a foundational issue affecting everything else. The resolution isn't one thing, it's layers. We need massive shifts in energy production, moving away from fossil fuels, obviously, but also carbon capture tech, which we talked about yesterday, is going to be important, even if it's not a silver bullet. And then there's behavioral change, consumption habits, travel, all that adds up. But knowing about it is the first step, right? People need to understand the science, the impacts, and the urgency. That's where things get tricky because there's a lot of misinformation out there. What part of understanding the issue feels most unclear to you right now? Everything all right?
Yes,
Sometimes the connection
everything
cuts out on
was
your end.
yes, everything was all right. So what's about to it? How can we resolve that thing?
Okay, so you're asking who's responsible for tackling these issues? That's a good question. It's definitely not just one entity. We've got governments, obviously, they need to set policy, invest in renewable energy, regulate emissions, but corporations have a huge role to play too in terms of their practices and investments. And then, honestly, it's on individuals to make conscious choices, demand change, and hold those in power accountable. It's messy because everyone has different priorities and incentives. What do you think is the biggest roadblock to getting everyone on the same page?
Yes, it's about to global effects on our issues and others things, so we can resolve that issue. So I am a student, so I also resolve the global issues thing. So we know about that thing. So to resolve that thing, you also explain that how can do we know about that thing and how can do we resolve that thing.
All right, so you're feeling a sense of responsibility as a student to tackle these global issues, and you want to know how to get started and how to understand them better. That's awesome. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, right? Like, what can one person even do? Okay, so understanding, start with reliable sources, not just news headlines, but reports from organizations like the IPCC on climate change or the World Bank on global economics. Don't be afraid to dive into data. And critically, learn to identify bias. Everyone has an agenda, so look for multiple perspectives. As for resolving things, being a student, you have a unique platform. You're building your knowledge, you're part of a community, and you can influence others. Even just having informed conversations can make a difference. And honestly, focusing on your own area of study can be incredibly powerful. You're studying e-commerce, right? Think
Yes,
about how you can use that knowledge to promote sustainable businesses or to develop solutions for a greener economy. Does that make sense?
yes, it makes sense.
Good. So, you're thinking about how your studies tie into these bigger problems. That's
Yes,
smart. You you're thinking about guys as in other people. What about them?
yes, I also know about that things.
Okay. So, you're saying you also have knowledge about these things, the global issues we've been talking about? That's great. Do you mean you have ideas about solutions, or are you thinking about other people's awareness of the problems? Still with me?
Yes, I
Connection
am
seems a
still
little
with
shaky.
you. Yes, I am still with you.
Okay, good. Just checking. You were saying you also have knowledge about these issues. What specifically are you thinking about? Are you finding that others aren't as aware as you are?
I think about that. How can we resolve that issues about our global issues and the others issues? which we can
Okay,
to
back
see
to
about in our all life.
you're thinking about how to resolve global issues that impact all of our lives, right? Is that the core of what you're getting at?
Yes,
Okay. And you've been thinking about this a lot, clearly. We've been circling around it for a while now. It feels like you're looking for framework, a way to organize your thoughts, maybe? Like it, you see the problems, you want to be part of the solution, but it feels a bit overwhelming. Is that getting close?
yes,
All right, that's good to know. So, a lot of people feel that way, completely normal. It's easy to get lost in the scale of it all. One thing that helps is breaking it down. We talked about that a bit earlier. Energy, economics, individual action. But another thing is recognizing your sphere of influence. You can't solve everything, right? But you can focus on what you can control, your choices, your community, your field of study. And then you can advocate for change within those areas. Does that feel less overwhelming?
yes,
Good. So, what feels like a good starting point within your sphere of influence? Your e-commerce studies, maybe, or something else? Are you still there? Sometimes it cuts out without a sound.
yes. So, what's about it?
Okay, good. You asked what's about it. I assume you mean what about using your e-commerce studies as a starting point? We were talking about your sphere of influence. Could you imagine applying your skills to promote sustainable products or to create an online business that prioritizes ethical practices? What does that spark for you?
So it's also be a very comfortable for us to resolve the issues about in our social life.
Okay, new means making sustainable choices more comfortable in everyday life? Oh,
Yes.
like making it easier to do the right thing? Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it. It's not just about big systemic changes, it's about making those changes accessible and appealing to people. If sustainable options are more convenient, more affordable, and more stylish, people are more likely to choose them. And that's where your e-commerce background could really come into play, making those options more visible, more appealing, and more accessible. Does that resonate?
Yes.
Good.
So
Feels like you're starting.
so what's about its global issues and what's the meaning of global issues about our environment, our anything?
Okay, you want to circle back to defining global issues and their meaning, specifically as they relate to our environment and everything else.
That's fair.
Essentially, global issues are problems that transcend national borders. They affect everyone, regardless of where they live. Climate change is the big one, obviously, but also things like pandemics, economic instability, resource scarcity, and human rights violations. They're all interconnected. What makes them global is that no single country can solve them alone. It requires international cooperation and a shared understanding of the challenges. And the meaning, I guess, is that our fates are intertwined. What happens in one part of the world impacts everyone else. How does that sit with you?
Yes, so it's good about you can giving a very good answer about it. How can't we know about that and how can't we resolve that issue? So at the end, you can giving a very good advice to my viewers, please.
Okay, so you appreciate the detailed explanations,
Ye-
and you want me to summarize some advice for your viewers at the end of this?
Yes,
Got
yes.
it. That's good to know. I'm glad the explanations are helpful. So, sticking with that idea, if you were to give your viewers three key takeaways about tackling global issues, what would they be? I'm curious what's resonating with you right now.
So
No
explain.
worries.
Yes, so explain it, and so you can giving a last advice, please, a long advice for my viewers.
All right. A long piece of advice for your viewers. Okay, here goes. Look, the world feels complicated right now, and it's easy to get discouraged by the scale of the problems we face: climate change, economic inequality, political division. But don't let that overwhelm you. The first thing to remember is that every action, no matter how small, makes a difference. Choose to consume consciously, support ethical businesses, and advocate for change in your community. Second, educate yourself. Don't just rely on headlines. Seek out diverse perspectives, learn to identify bias, and understand the complexities of these issues. Knowledge is power, and it will empower you to make informed decisions and engage in meaningful conversations. Third, find your sphere of influence. You don't have to solve everything. Focus on what you can control: your choices, your community, your field of study. Use your skills and passions to make a positive impact in the areas where you can. And finally, remember that you're not alone. Connect with others who share your values, build a supportive community, and work together to create a better future. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Be kind to yourselves, be persistent, and never lose hope. The future is not predetermined, it's shaped by the choices we make today. How does that sound for your viewers? Is there anything you'd like me to add or change? All
I
right.
think
Just
you can giving advice for my viewers.
right. I just did. That was the long piece of advice for your viewers. Was there something else you wanted me to add to it?
Nothing.
Okay, good. Everything all right? Still
Yes,
there?
everything was all right.
Okay, good. Just checking. Is there anything else on your mind right now, or are we good to wrap up?
Yes, we can to end. So viewers, this is my CallAnnie. I hope you like it. We can coming on next CallAnnie. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Thank you so much, CallAnnie, to giving us a very short time of interview.
Oh, all right. Well, that's a wrap then. Thanks for the chat and to your colony too. Have a good one.
Okay.
You too.
Okay.
All right.